There's this little mountain town in West Virginia, one of those places where life feels simple. Neighbors wave and Sunday mornings are for church. And serious crime is not something people even think about. But one cold February day, that calm was broken. Inside a quiet home, investigators walked into pure chaos, blood, confusion, and evidence that just didn't add up. And the person behind it all, trust me, no one could have predicted who it was. This is Crime to Sleep. Welcome to Beckley, West Virginia, a small city tucked away in the heart of Appalachia. Known as the gateway to southern West Virginia, Beckley is surrounded by rolling mountains, winding rivers, and rich coal mining history. It's a place where tradition and community run deep, yet adventure is always close by, with hiking, rafting, and outdoor escapes just minutes away. Locals are proud of their roots, their resilience, and the warmth they show to visitors. And it was here that the unthinkable happened. Ronald Lee Browning was born on November 7, 1944, in Taplin, West Virginia. He grew up in Mingo County and attended Gilbert High School. Later, he went on to serve his country proudly as a U.S. Army veteran. But Ron's life was about more than service in the military. He spent his days giving back to others. He was the pastor of the Cool Ridge Community Church. He would wake up early in the morning to speak with people at Raleigh General Hospital in Beckley, where he also works as a chaplain, bringing comfort to families when they needed it most. He was a beloved community member and volunteered most days out of his week to help others. He spent some time as a widower after losing his wife of 46 years. He had also endured the loss of a son and a daughter, though he found joy in the love of his many grandchildren. Cool Ridge Community Church wasn't just a place of worship. It was the center of Ron's life. He'd been the pastor there for years, and it's also where he stood at the altar, marrying his second wife, Roxana Walker, on April 19, 2014. It wasn't a grand wedding, but it was beautiful. Family, friends, pink and white everywhere, and a cake made by a niece. You could feel the joy in the room that day. Tragically, their marriage was cut short after just 9 months. But their connection went back much further. They'd known each other for over a decade through the hospital. At that point in their lives, they both needed someone, and they found that in each other. Roxana was always by his side, in church, in life, devoted. Ron, by all accounts, was that kind of husband, the type who would drop everything just to make his wife happy. He was generous, loving, and deeply faithful. People loved him. Just 2 days before his death, he went fishing with his brother Ralph, something they did often. It was another good day, full of laughter and stories. Nobody could have guessed it would be one of their last together. On Saturday, February 7, 2015, Roxana kissed him goodbye before leaving with her mother to attend a family reunion. Ron stayed behind, planning to spend the day studying his Bible for tomorrow's sermon. It was a typical cold February day, quiet and ordinary, but as the hours passed, something felt wrong. Roxana noticed that Ron hadn't called her, something he always did several times a day. When she returned home later that evening, she immediately noticed the smell of gas. She walked into the house with a cake in her hand, setting it down on the kitchen table before calling out for Ron. That's when she noticed strands of hair on the floor. Her dog came trembling down the hallway, clearly shaken, and then she saw him, lying on the floor.
911, where is she?
I just got home and my husband on the floor and he's not breathing. It's like somebody's been in the house and there's stuff dirt everywhere.
What's your name?
My name is Roxana Browning. I am his wife.
Okay. Is he breathing?
No.
Okay,
There's
how,
blood everywhere.
okay, listen to me. How old is he?
He is 69 years old.
Okay. Do you know what happened to him?
No, I don't.
What's his name?
Ronald Browning.
Do you think somebody's been in there fighting with him?
Yeah.
Okay. got help coming. They're coming as fast as they can, coming from downtown, okay?
When the first officer arrived at the house, it was immediately clear this was no accident. This wasn't a medical call. He began clearing the house, moving from room to room, making sure no one else was inside. What he found was shocking: blood everywhere. When detectives arrived around 6 p.m., they were met by Ron's wife, who was in visible shock. Ron had suffered severe blunt force trauma to his head and face. The living room was drenched in blood, and signs of a violent struggle were obvious. Around Ron's body were shards of glass, coins, and other scattered items, evidence of the sheer chaos that had unfolded. The crime scene itself was massive, far too much for a small team to process. Investigators describe Ron Browning's murder scene as one of the bloodiest in Raleigh County history, a level of violence and brutality that left even the most seasoned officers shaken. Ron's brother Ralph, with whom he had a very close relationship with, was just at home with his wife when the phone rang. On the line was Roxana, her voice trembling as she said something terrible had happened at the house. She told him, straight out, that Ron had been murdered. At first, Ralph couldn't even wrap his head around it. It didn't feel real. They immediately jumped in the car and rushed straight to Ron's house. When they got there, an officer met them outside, and that's when Ralph heard the words he'll never forget: Ron has been murdered. Even early on, investigators were able to gather some key clues from the crime scene. One of the first things they noticed was that whoever attacked Ron had clearly hurt themselves in the process. The amount of blood spread throughout the house told them the injuries were severe. One of the first steps the team took was to check local hospitals, seeing if anyone had come in with serious injuries that would match what they expected from the scene. It was a crucial lead, something that could help them narrow down suspects quickly. So right off the bat, police assumed the same thing here. Whoever had done this was probably a man. The crime scene was chaotic, messy, almost frantic. And that matters, because investigators know a crime scene usually mirrors the mind of the killer. Someone this violent, this out of control. Chances are they were living in that same kind of chaos themselves. Detectives took hundreds of photos, spending nearly 12 hours documenting every inch of that house. Around 8:45 that evening, investigators had the chance to speak with Roxana. At that point, everyone was technically a suspect. Given the severity of the attack, the police initially thought it might have been someone connected to him, perhaps even a family member. That's why Roxana was considered a person of interest. She had been away during the day, and her quiet, almost emotionless state, though likely shock, raised questions. Even so, investigators knew she physically couldn't have carried out the attack herself. But because she was so close to Ron, and statistics show that people in a victim's inner circle are often suspects, they couldn't rule her out right away without hard evidence. What investigators quickly learned about their relationship was reassuring. There were no signs of conflict, violence, or anything that would suggest she posed a threat. Roxana did provide an alibi, which investigators were able to confirm through others who had attended the same family reunion that day. With that, she was cleared as a suspect relatively early in the investigation, allowing police to focus elsewhere. Investigators wanted to know if Roxana had noticed anything unusual when she first entered the house. At first, she didn't see anything out of place, but once she got into the kitchen, she noticed a milk jug and some hair on the floor. She picked it up and set it on Ron's recliner chair. From there, the scene became horrifyingly clear. The house was completely torn up. Blood was everywhere. Curtains had been ripped off the walls. Blood was in the bathroom sink and even the toilet. The attic ladder had been pulled down, and a white cabinet was knocked over. Police asked if she could think of anyone who would do this to Ron. She was adamant. "I don't know anyone who didn't like Ron. People just loved him. I don't think anyone would have harmed him." Investigators also noticed braided hair pieces at the scene. They were significant because they were mixed in with the victim's blood, literally beneath his body. This clue, along with other evidence, suggested something about the murder weapon. Based on the scene, it appeared the weapon may have been a large glass jar full of change. Investigators could tell right away that this wasn't some quick in-and-out crime. Whoever did this had moved through that house like they owned it. They were everywhere. The attic, the basement, rifling through drawers, even using the kitchen sink and the bathrooms. This wasn't a few minutes of chaos. This person spent serious time inside. Down in the basement, detectives found something even darker, a bloody gas can. It looked like gasoline had been spread through parts of the home to set it all on fire. And get this, the weapon was not something brought in, but just whatever could be grabbed from inside the house. That tells you a lot. This wasn't premeditated. This was rage, passion, someone who snapped. And then there's the basement door. Investigators believe that's how the killer slipped out. Just imagine it. They walk out into the cool night air, leaving behind a house soaked in chaos and blood. A monster walked away, and nobody even knew. At a certain point in the investigation, the team had to sit down and brainstorm. That's when they started thinking about the braided hair pieces found underneath the victim's body. A patrol officer mentioned a recent missing persons report. A worried mother had left her adult daughter alone for a short period while she was getting her hair braided. When she returned, the daughter had disappeared, leaving her phone behind and unreachable. During their discussion, another officer spoke up. A 19-year-old female had recently been arrested in a nearby town, Mabscott, West Virginia. Suddenly, a possible connection was emerging, linking this young woman to the violent and chaotic scene at Ron Browning's home. As investigators dug deeper into the Mabscott Police Department's records, a disturbing pattern began to emerge. The suspect hadn't acted alone in isolation. She had forced her way into 2 other homes. In one, she confronted a very elderly man. In the other, she entered the home of a family who, fortunately, were able to stall her long enough to contact law enforcement.
911, where is your emergency? Hello?
Get out of here right now.
No.
You don't
911.
push my mom down. You don't push my mom down. Get out of the way.
Brian, calm down. I'll make calm down.
911.
Get out of my house and knocking my mom down. Now.
I'm not trying to disrespect you.
I don't care. Now. It's my now. Now. I'll give you 10 seconds. Get out of my house. Y'all get out of the goddamn way. Take them. Get back.
4. He's pointing to me at 4 and 1.
Hey.
What is this 4 and 1? Give me the keys to the car. No, this car. Give me the keys to the car. No, ma'am. Give me the keys to the car.
That's my damn mom.
I gotta open disturbance.
Yes, there's a black lady who got in the house. She was gotten in the house and won't leave. But she's going back and forth, very psychotic. Very psychotic.
Okay, and you don't know who this black woman is?
No idea. They don't know. We've never seen her. Y'all got to hurry and get here and get her. She's going to hurt somebody. We can't get her out of the house.
Once it was confirmed that her physical description matched the braided hair pieces found at the crime scene, and when they learned about the severe lacerations and cuts to her hands, they realized this was exactly what they had anticipated the perpetrator would have. They then traveled to the hospital to make contact. That's when they learned her name, Camille Brown. When investigators saw Camille sitting on a gurney at the hospital, her behavior was erratic and incoherent. Her condition was so severe that Raleigh General Hospital eventually refused to treat her due to her combative behavior. The situation escalated when her family arrived. It was the first time they had seen her since filing a missing persons report. Emotions ran high as police tried to restrain Camille while her family attempted to intervene. Ultimately, she was transferred to Beckley Appalachian Regional Hospital, a facility equipped to treat violent or mentally unstable individuals. Even there, it took 5 or 6 officers, physical restraints, and sedatives to safely treat her injuries. And in a shocking discovery, the jacket Camille was wearing at the time of her arrest belonged to none other than Ron Browning. It was his chaplain jacket from Raleigh General Hospital. Think about that. Wearing the victim's clothing, almost like a trophy. She wasn't family. She wasn't even a friend. In fact, there was no connection between them at all. What police would soon learn is that Ron wasn't her only target. Camille had already terrorized 4 other homes in the neighborhood that same night. And when officers finally caught her, what she said stunned everyone. Sitting in the back of the patrol car, she admitted almost casually that she had killed, quote, this old, gray-haired white man. It was chilling, just senseless violence. And it left investigators and the entire community grappling with one haunting question. Why?
I went south,
Okay.
east, and I went to this man's house.
Okay.
And
Did you know this, the man?
no,
You didn't know him?
no,
You never seen him before or talked to him or anything?
no.
Okay. So you go to his house, what'd you do then?
I asked him for some water,
Okay.
and he gave me water.
Now what happened from that point?
I choked him.
Okay.
He said that I had a demon in me.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Okay. And what did you do then?
I proceeded to choke the man. After he fell, he fought and fought and fought and fought.
Fighting with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But something told me to keep going.
Okay.
Don't give up. And I kept pushing and pushing.
Okay. At this point, you had choked him, and then you started fighting on the floor,
glass.
right? Glass.
It was glass.
What kind of glass?
A big glass vase with money that was in it.
Okay. Like a change jar kind of? Okay. I've seen people have those. Is that...
And I hit him with it because he wouldn't die.
Investigators began canvassing the area for security cameras, mapping the likely route Camille had taken to reach Ron's house. Video footage eventually showed her jogging down the street prior to the homicide. As investigators canvassed the neighborhood, they stumbled across something critical: a trail. Following it step by step, they noticed droplets of blood leading away from the home. That trail told a story. It showed the path Camille took after the murder, and it ultimately led police straight to Mabscott, where she was finally arrested. During interviews, Camille admitted to kicking Ron in the chest because he just wasn't dying. She confessed to rummaging through the house, looking at mail and scattering items, and then spraying gasoline throughout the basement in an attempt to set the house on fire and destroy evidence.
I figured if I was going to get caught, burn the house up.
Oh, okay. Why didn't you light the gasoline?
Because I couldn't get back upstairs to time the matches.
In southern West Virginia, stranger murders are extremely rare. Most victims are harmed by someone they know, and typically, that suspect is male. By all accounts, she had an impeccable history in the community. No arrests, no trouble, nothing that would hint at this level of violence. The aftermath was devastating. Pastor Ron's funeral in Beckley drew so many people that the church couldn't even hold the crowd. Friends and family shared stories about what a kind, generous man he was, and what a devoted preacher. For his brother, the loss was unbearable. It feels like a big part of me was lost, struggling to hold back tears. As the prosecution progressed, more about Camille's life came to light. She had been leading a double life. She enrolled at West Virginia University, but shortly after arriving, she dropped out without telling her family. While they thought she was attending school, Camille was working in a gentleman's club instead, living a completely different life than her family imagined. Early on, there was some speculation that she might have been involved in drugs, mostly due to her erratic behavior. However, mental health evaluations complicated things. Essentially, the defense planned a mitigation strategy, acknowledging Camille committed the crime, but arguing there were reasons she couldn't fully form intent, or perhaps didn't fully understand right from wrong due to mental disorders or other issues. Because of these factors, the case didn't go to trial. In May 2016, Camille Brown pled guilty to 2 counts of burglary and second-degree murder. By all accounts, Camille had been in a state of extreme agitation, paranoia, and violence. This was someone clearly in a dangerously disturbed mental state. It's chilling to think about how quickly someone can go from appearing normal to committing something so violent. If you had met her just a day or two before Pastor Ron's murder, you might have thought she was a perfectly ordinary young woman. Camille was sentenced to 40 years for first-degree homicide, plus 2 counts of burglary. The judge later reduced her homicide sentence to 30 years, leaving many, including the Browning family and law enforcement, with a lingering sense that justice had not been fully served.
Shall be sentenced to a term in the custody of the Division of Corrections of 30 years.
Both families were filled with nothing but emotion as well as disappointment after the judge gave 22-year-old Camille Brown 30 years in prison with the eligibility of parole in 10.
If she can be a good girl for 10 years, she's going to get out. Does that mean my brother's going to be back in 10 years? No. The judicial system really sucks.
Brown pleaded guilty to second-degree murder after she allegedly entered the home of 68-year-old Ronald Browning, a pastor she did not know, beating him to death in February of 2015.
They were back guilty.
Brown, who has no criminal history, admitted to police that she took marijuana before the murder.
At the end of the day, you don't know what you're getting when you go out on the streets and buy marijuana. It is not regulated, it is not legal in West Virginia, and you could have anything in there. And here we have someone who had a severe reaction to a substance and did something that was absolutely atrocious and god-awful.
Marijuana had nothing to do with it. And we did hire a psychopharmacologist in anticipation of trial who had the same opinion. And in fact, we have the girl that she smoked the marijuana with, and she said that Camille Brown only took 2 puffs, the girl smoked the rest of it, and that it was just plain marijuana, that Camille Brown was fine, she was fine. Camille Brown went home that night and was with her mother all night and the next morning and was fine. So the murder would have been at least 12 hours after the supposed marijuana smoking.
The judge also pointed out in court that because Brown was so aggressive with the doctors after she was arrested, they were not able to draw her blood, which could have possibly given more information to determine why she committed this heinous crime.
To lose someone as good as Ron in such a senseless, brutal way is almost impossible to comprehend. He had never harmed anyone, yet his life was taken for no apparent reason. His family now has to live with unanswered questions for the rest of their lives, and that, perhaps, is the most heartbreaking part of all. Ron had simply been at home, minding his own business. All he did was open his door to a stranger, and that small act cost him his life. There was no connection, no warning. At the end of the day, this story isn't just about crime, it's about loss, faith, and the fragility of peace in even the quietest of towns. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.